Athens, 1801. The city stirs before dawn. The smell of charcoal smoke and goat dung drifting up from the lower quarters. The distant cry of a muezzin threading through the pale air. Dmitrios Papadakis climbs the ancient path as he does every morning, his calloused hands already reaching for the tools hanging at his belt. He is 43 years old. He has made this walk 10,000 times. And still, when the Parthenon rises above the ridge, bone-white columns catching the first copper light of day, he stops. He always stops. There is something in him that refuses to make peace with beauty and ruin existing in the same breath. He carries his ancestors in his chest like ballast. Today, without yet knowing it, that weight is about to become unbearable. The morning of the 14th of March arrives thick with dust and the smell of burning charcoal. Mehmed Aga stands before the crew like a man reading a ledger. Unhurried, indifferent, his ringed fingers tracing lines on a yellowed survey map. The order is efficient, merciless. The north wall's metope blocks, carved 2,000 years before by hands that believed in gods worth honoring, are to be cut loose within 7 days. Dmitrios grips his iron chisel until his knuckles bleach white beneath the grind. Around him, the other masons stare at the ground, their silence a kind of surrender. Above them all, the Parthenon endures the Aegean light with ancient, wounded dignity, unaware, or perhaps too aware, that its executioners are already measuring the stone. Tonight, Dmitrios will not sleep. In the shadow of the Church of the Holy Apostles, where incense smoke curls through cracked Byzantine arches, Dmitrios finds the only man in Athens he trusts, with a secret that could cost him everything. Father Konstantinos listens with the stillness of a man who has heard too many confessions, born of desperation. The priest's weathered hands press together, not in prayer, but in the measured gravity of warning. Names hang unspoken between them. Neighbors who questioned too loudly, craftsmen who refused one order too many, men whose absence the bazaar learned to swallow without comment. The smell of cardamom and boiling coffee drifts in from the market stalls beyond, grotesquely ordinary against the weight of what is being risked. Yet something shifts in the old priest's eyes, not refusal, but resolve. Tomorrow, Dmitrios will not be alone. The young Englishman arrives at dusk, his leather satchel heavy with surveying papers stamped with Ottoman seals. Permissions purchased, it is said, with diplomatic charm and considerable coin. Dmitrios studies the documents in the amber light of an oil lamp, his calloused fingers tracing the familiar contours of carved names he cannot read. The ink smells of London offices, cold and foreign. Thomas Haig speaks of preservation, of museums, of posterity. Words that land like stones in still water. Yet Dmitrios knows what removal means. The friezes torn from their breath, exiled to gray northern light, never again touched by Attic sun. To save a thing by severing it, is that salvation or a slower ruin? The mason folds the papers deliberately, his jaw tight, and somewhere above them on the sacred rock, the Ottoman overseer sharpens his plans for morning. By the light of a single oil lamp, Dmitrios Papadakis ascends the Acropolis alone. The city sleeps below. The muezzin long silent, the bazaars shuttered, the Ottoman garrison fires burning low. He moves like a man at prayer. In his satchel, gypsum powder, linen strips, a horsehair brush worn thin from decades of honest work. He presses the wet plaster against the marble with trembling hands, feeling the carved horses rear beneath his fingers, feeling the ancient procession breathe. The limestone smells of cold and centuries. Each mold pulled free is an act of love disguised as theft. Come morning, he buries them in darkness beneath his cellar floor. White faces staring upward at nothing. Night after night he returns. But soon, so will someone else. In the shadow of the lower bazaar, where the air hangs thick with charcoal smoke and the sharp tang of cured leather, a single word is enough to destroy a man. Kostas Lemos, his hands still chalked white from the morning's cutting, presses close to Mehmed Aga's attendant, and speaks that word. Jealousy is an old stone too. Heavier than marble, cheaper than dust. Across the hill, Dmitrios works on, unaware, his mallet striking its careful rhythm against the ancient frieze. Each impression he records a quiet act of devotion. He pauses to wipe the sweat from his brow, squinting toward the horizon where the October sun bleeds copper over the ruined columns. He almost smiles. He does not yet hear the boots already climbing toward him. The torchlight catches Mehmed Aga's face first. Fury made flesh against the ancient stone. Dmitrios stands his ground among the plaster molds, his hands white with lime dust, his heart hammering beneath his rough linen shirt. The Acropolis breathes around them both. The smell of dry marble warmed by 1,000 years of Athenian sun. The distant cry of a muezzin drifting up from the lower city. Mehmed circles the careful rows of casts, like a man inspecting evidence at a tribunal. Dmitrios gestures toward the frieze, toward the frozen cavalcade of marble horsemen who have ridden silently through centuries of conquest and ruin. His argument is wordless, desperate, and ancient. It hangs between the two men, like incense smoke in still air. Neither moves. Neither yields. And somewhere below, on the road from Piraeus, a British lantern is climbing the hill. The firmans arrive like a cold wind through the guardhouse door. Ottoman seals, Lord Elgin's borrowed authority pressed into wax. Thomas Haig does not flinch as he presents his papers to the overseer, his voice carrying the practiced calm of a man who trades in leverage, not mercy. Dmitrios is released into pale morning light, his wrists rope-burned, his knuckles still dusted with ancient limestone. He breathes air that smells of charcoal smoke and donkey dung, and something older beneath it all. The stone itself, exhaling centuries. No gratitude passes between the two men, only the silent arithmetic of usefulness. Haig needs eyes that can read the carvings like scripture. Dmitrios knows every wound on that marble. The bargain is struck before either man speaks a word of it. And now, shackled by a different kind of obligation, Dmitrios must decide how far his knowledge will travel. The ropes go taut at dawn. Dmitrios watches from the shadow of a broken column as Elgin's workers, Greek laborers, his own countrymen, press iron levers against stone that has endured 2,000 winters. The permit is Turkish. The hands are Greek. The sin belongs to everyone. A carved horseman, blind-eyed and magnificent, tilts slowly from the frieze. Somewhere in the dust and pale morning light, something older than language is being severed. Dmitrios clutches his sack of plaster molds, ghostly impressions, white and chalky, smelling of lime and desperation. They are everything. They are almost nothing. He had feared the dynamite. He had not anticipated this. Removal dressed as rescue, erasure given a scholarly name. As the marble horseman disappears into a wooden crate bound for the harbor, Dmitrios understands that his choices are no longer about preservation. They are about witness, and what a man is willing to risk to become one. Deep beneath the city's indifferent noise, Dmitrios works by candlelight. His cellar smells of plaster dust, lamp oil, and damp earth. The smell of something being saved. One by one, he arranges the plaster molds along the stone shelf, each fragment cradled like a sleeping child. His mason's hands, cracked and chalked white, press careful labels into soft wax beside each piece. A horseman's knee, a goddess mid-stride, a frieze of frozen celebration. He does not weep. He catalogues. Outside, the city breathes its Ottoman rhythms. The muezzins call, the hammers strike, the slow indifference of empire. But here, in this underground archive of stolen memory, Dmitrios commits a different act of war. Not with fire or fury, with patience. And somewhere above, the British aide is still counting stones, still measuring, still wanting.